Lou Hamilton from Audible Elegance in Cincinnati, Ohio. We are located in Montgomery, Ohio, a couple doors north of the Montgomery Inn and across the street from Montgomery Cyclery. Please enjoy the YouTube videos we've been producing, and please do subscribe. We really do need subscribers. You can also catch additional information and articles on X and on Instagram, on Twitter. And I also write a blog, and sometimes I bring the blogs into the YouTube videos. Tonight, we're going to talk about the danger of ordering on the internet. And in this case, it is really interesting. The customer of this turntable, it's a Music Hall MMF5, decided that he was going to replace the cartridge himself and perhaps save some money. I don't know. I don't think so. And so he placed his order with Amazon, and it was fulfilled promptly by Amazon and the seller. The cartridge was received, and so from the standpoint of buying it from the internet from Amazon, everything was perfect. I have no bones to pick with those folks, okay? Don't get me wrong, although I have my druthers, because he actually ordered a cartridge we sell here. And the sad part is that he got himself into more trouble and more problems by trying to do it himself than letting a professional like us take care of it. And what's not uncommon on phono cartridges is that the pins on the cartridge themselves, where you attach the lead wires, are of different diameter. And if you're going between brands, one of the things you can run into is that the opening of the pin that slides, opening of the female portion that slides onto the phono cartridge can be of a different diameter. And this particular set that we picked up was actually designed for Technics turntables, so it's appropriate to go on the double pins because they use pins on the head shell area, and then whatever happens on the cartridge, well, that's where we're going. Well, it so happened that the male pins on the Ortofon cartridge were smaller in diameter than the cartridge he had previously mounted. So when he attempted to slide on the female portion of the cartridge tag, well, it didn't grip at all. And so he took it upon himself to try to reshape the pin so that he could get it to firmly attach to the cartridge itself. And that's where the trouble really began. And so rather than having the proper tools and understanding how much care needed to be done and trying to close up a pin, he used standard household pliers, and the next thing you know, he mashed it. So nothing was going to get on there at all. And he was, at that point, in deep doo-doo. So he brought the table into us because he had made that mistake and wanted us to mount, basically it was probably $200, $250 Ortofon cartridge onto an MMF5. Now, at that point, there's already two problems in motion. That level of cartridge exceeds the capability of an older MMF5. The cartridge would begin to reveal the drawbacks or the flaws of the table, either in bearing or speed or what's going on in the tone arm. And that's where pardon the expression, the shit hit the fan. Because once we got the turntable in, we were able to determine that for whatever reason, the bearings in the gimbal assembly of the tone arm were in fact a little bit loose. In other words, there was slop and play in it. That is not something that a shop or even a repair center can adjust. That's something that has to go back to the factory because it's so precise. Because you're typically dealing with bearings that are 5 micron in size. Sometimes they get down to 3. On the really specialty arms, they can get as small as 1 micron. So with the arm essentially now rattling about, that made using an extremely good cartridge, well, from our point of view, simply insane. Because he was not going to get the benefit at all of what that cartridge could pick up, because it's also going to be picking up the vibration of the arm and the rattling around. Records are essentially amplitude modulation, and that's what a cartridge feels and turns it into an electrical pulse and then transmits it on. So in his case, he not only mashed it so well enough, but any attempt to open that pin up resulted in the tag itself disintegrating and breaking. So we had to get into literally putting a new tag onto a lead. So we had to trim the wire. We had to prepare for soldering, and then mount a new female tag onto the wire. Now the wires themselves are very small. I would put it in the class of maybe 2 or 3 hairs together. So, if you pull out a typical soldering iron to try to make the attachment, there's a good chance it's going to wind up burning the wire. And if you burn enough of it, you won't have the length you need so you can attach it to the cartridge. So prior to this video, I went ahead and did that work. It's something you really want to concentrate on what you're doing, as opposed to having somebody watch a video and watch you screw up. And so we did that, and we mounted a new tag on it. In his case, since he now backed off to about a $50 cartridge on the table, which is fine given what's going on with the tone arm, he was kind of like, well, now what do I do? And he stepped up to a rig of P6, and his immediate comments once he got to listen to it at home is he couldn't believe how wonderful his records really sounded, because it was vastly superior to an MMF5. Now, it was kind of like, well, what do I do with the MMF5? Well, fortunately, in a sense, his daughter had hauled off and purchased from Amazon. Okay, here we go again. A Crosley turntable. And these things are like $69. And they're notoriously wicked little pieces of crap. And so what he did is we mounted a new cartridge, an inexpensive one, on an arm that isn't quite right. And he's going to give this turntable to his daughter to enjoy. And the Crosley, I don't know where she lives, so I don't know which Goodwill you need to go to. But that's what's going to happen to it. It's just a piece of crap. I've seen a couple of them. And so, if you're going to mail order a turntable and a cheapie, please, $69, you can't even get a respectable meal for 2 people for $69. So let's think about this, because you're typically spending $20 or $30 for a record these days. So, hello. The dog's cheap, the food's expensive. But the real thrust of this video is, if you need a cartridge for your turntable, it's really best in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing and why they're doing it. Because we have the equipment to get the set point down, so the cartridge is not too far out or not too far in. It doesn't track the right angle. You can look at another one of my videos where I talk about that. And we can do the job right. And on the case of Audible Elegance, we're not going to mount a cartridge that you bought from somebody else that we sell. It's just not fair. We make our living taking care of everything, and we don't want to be responsible for receiving a cartridge that we determine is defective, and they do happen. And that puts the owner, us, and the seller into this tirade of who's responsible for what happened. And it might not even be the seller, it may have come from the factory that way. And in 2 cases, that's in fact what happened. So buy your phone a cartridge, from an authorized dealer for it, have him mount it, make sure that it's properly set up, and there you go. So in his case, him trying to save, us mounting the cartridge, well, he got a much better turntable, so we can't include that. But it's going to cost him, a couple $100 for all the work that had to go in to fix all this crap. So it's not worth it. Do it right, make it simple, get back to listening to music. There we are.